Luang Prabang is a city in northern Laos. It used to be the capital of Laos, and now the entire city is a UNESCO World Heritage Site. We got there at night and ate some dinner, then checked out the night market. The next day, we rented some bicycles and explored the town. Our first stop was visiting two temples that sit at the top of a hill called Phu Si. From the top of the hill, you can see views of both the Mekong and the Nam Han River. The name Luang Prabang actually translates into Royal Buddha Image. We then visited the Royal Palace, located right across the street. It was originally built in 1904. Visitors are allowed to visit the grounds and go inside the palace. However, filming in the palace is strictly prohibited. We then biked around some more, exploring the city. Until I accidentally lost the keys to the bike lock. We then had to walk to our last stop of the day, Wat Sieng Thong. It is the oldest and most beautiful temple in Luang Prabang. It was built between 1559 and 1560, and its name translates to the Temple of the Golden City. It is one of the most beautiful temples I've ever visited, and 1000% worth a visit if you find yourself here. The next day, we booked a full day tour. The day started by going to a village and learning about the traditional way of Lao life. The next stop was also definitely a must stop if you go to Luang Prabang. The falls were falling. Visitors are allowed to swim in some of the pools, but it was a cold morning, so there were not that many people swimming. If you're up for a challenge, you can also take a hike all the way up the side of the fall. There's also a bear sanctuary next to the falls, where you can learn about some of the work being done to preserve the local bear population. We then went to eat lunch at this resort that just had elephants that roam in the area. It was then time to hop on a boat and make our way slowly back into the city. We stopped at Pak O Caves. According to the legend, in 366 CE, a monk named Yusen had a vision of 1,000 radiant Buddhas on a cliff face, which inspired him to begin excavating the caves. Today, there are more than 1,000 painted and sculpted Buddhas within the caves. I gotta say, catching the sunset over Laos was definitely one of my favorite things about this trip. The next day, we wandered around the town, took a ferry to the other side, which was pretty quiet. We then visited the Ethnic Minority Museum and learned about the history of ethnic minorities in the region and how it's protecting itself from intellectual rights as fashion takes inspiration from traditional clothes. We then stopped by another UXO site. Luang Prabang is the 10th most severely affected province in Laos that is still dealing with a lot of undetonated bombs that were dropped by the US. The bullet train was booked, so always remember to book ahead. We ended up taking an adventurous car ride up a mountain in a half-built road to make it to our last stop, Vang Bien, a city made for adventure lovers. This is Eduardo Culbo.